Welcome to the 16th season of the NitWits, a weekly roundtable discussion on the Penn State Nittany Lions. Our panel includes Neil Riddell of the Altoona Mirror, Mark Brennan of FightOnState.com, Jacob Cowker of WTAJ Sports, and a special guest nitwit each week. The NitWits are brought to you by Irwin Financial Raymond James, an independent firm and firm foundation for your financial future. Coldwell Banker, no one will work harder to sell your home. By Doctors Howells, Reed, and Solani, orthodontics for children and adults. By Fiore True Value on 6th Avenue, Altoona. Just ask rental. Buy what you want, rent what you need. By Monarch Cleaners, for all your cleaning needs. By your rehab choice, Health South Altoona. Ask for us by name. By Courtesy Motors of Altoona, where courtesy means a great deal. By the Allegro, where fine cuisine is a way of life. By the Altoona Professional Hearing Aid Center, your hearing aid healthcare professional. By EasyToUse.com, your Yellow Pages connection in print and online. By FightOnState.com, as close as you get to Penn State football without putting on a helmet. And by the Altoona Mirror, featuring Penn State game day every Friday.
Welcome inside the NitWits. Talk about getting popped in Champaign. A late field goal sinking Penn State for the second time this year. We, of course, are the NitWits. Neil Riddell, Mark Brennan, Mike Irwin. I am Jacob Cowker. Penn State loses to an Illinois team that won just its third Big Ten game in the 3 or so years that Tim Beckman's been the head coach. Where do you start as far as concerns that this game has brought up for you?
Well, I think there's just who are they on offense? To me, I know the special teams really lost the game and the defense finally broke. But to me, the big problem here, and it's really been degenerating through the season, what has happened to this offense since the UCF game? And I know they wanted to get back to the run. And over the years, and Mark has been beside me, there have been a lot of problems when they've gotten away from the run. They've lost games because of it. You could tick them off. I'm not going to do that. They decided to commit to the run, but I think they've gone overboard. And they threw 16 times yesterday, 5 times in the second half. They had an NFL quarterback when they got there. I realize there have been a lot of problems this year, but I think all you needed was a first down or two, and they were so predictable in running the ball. I think they took the ball out of the quarterback's hands.
Yeah, I mean, I think we could hash that out as the show goes along. But to me, you know, James Franklin, the one thing he's really pointed out is they want to take one game at a time. They want to focus on this week. I don't care what anybody says. Clearly, the fact that they became bowl eligible took some wind out of their sails. I mean, I think they viewed that as some sort of achievement. You know, you looked at all 3 aspects of the game broke down for them to various degrees, and you go out there, an 11 a.m. kick, you score early, there's probably 20,000 fans there. That team, I didn't see it playing with emotion. And listen, you can excuse a lot of things with this team because of the sanctions, but this Illinois team is not good at all. And Penn State really, it was an effort for Penn State to play poorly enough to lose that game, in my view.
Yeah, they just didn't show any consistency at all on their offensive game plan. I agree with Neil that I think their game plan going in was to run the ball because Illinois had such a bad defense. I think they were either last in the country in rushing defense or close to last in the country
among the power league.
And I think they come up with a game plan ahead of time, and then they didn't break away from that game plan. They stuck to what their game plan was, which, you know, was a mistake. I mean, they should have, you know, mixed the pass in a little bit more. 18 passes and 47 rushes isn't a very balanced attack.
Well, you wonder how you reestablish some confidence in your passing game and in Christian Hackenberg. You get down there, you're up 7-0. He throws a gorgeous pass to Godwin, one of the best passes he's thrown for a while. Then you get house money because you fake a punt, which was a good call, and you're inside the 10, and you bang Lynch 3 times and settle for a field goal. Well, if you're going to go for the field goal on 4th down, why not take a shot in the end zone to make it 14-0? It might have been an entirely different game.
I've obviously been advocating running the ball all year because I think that there are just too many things that go wrong when they pass the ball. And in defense of them, there were a couple plays relatively early in that game where, you know, Kyle Carter just drops a ball. Christian Hackenberg had a play where he ran out and could have hit Jasicki and just missed Hamilton. And I wonder if these things are happening and they figure, you know, this is just a disaster waiting to happen. Everything that you're saying is right, but by the same token, they were still in position to win that game if their defense comes through. They put it into the hands of their defense where everybody wanted that game to be, and it didn't work out.
Yeah,
and I'm not blaming the loss on the defense. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
I'm saying
well, I don't think you can. They allowed 16 points.
Right, but they played strategically well to get to that point, and if the defense does what it usually does, they win the game.
Yeah, but I think they're playing too close to the vest. It's to throw once on third down if you're going to go for the field goal. Now, if you're going to go, maybe they thought if they get 4th and inches, they'll go for it there. But I don't know. I just think that they are really a work in progress in terms of their transition to Christian Hackenberg and his transition to them.
The shame is they finally got the offensive line playing with some consistency and confidence, and now all of a sudden it's almost like they don't know what to do with it. And I mean, and that's where I would agree with you. I mean, I think, listen, the offensive line's not great, but it's way better now to me than it was, 3, 4, 5 weeks ago.
It played pretty well yesterday.
Yeah, they've gotten away from some of those receivers that they were using early in the season, too. I mean, the wide receivers, how many balls they catch yesterday?
Yeah.
3 balls, and the tight end caught, what they have, 5 completions?
8 completions.
8 completions, so, I mean.
2 of them to Lynch.
But here's the thing, they've become so predictable late in games when they're trying to put these games away. The Maryland game, they ran 3 straight times and then punted. And then and then in this game, with 5 minutes to go, they ran 3 straight times, where they threw the little dump to James, set up the touchdown to Lynch. So I'm just saying, maybe you mix in a safe pattern on third down. One first down, they could be 8-3.
Do we know though, and maybe this is a question for next time we talk to James Franklin, when Hackenberg ran that ball, did he have a pass option there and just decide to take off? I really think that if he puts his head down there, he gets it, but this is the same guy that's been beaten up all year, so maybe you understand why he didn't put his head down and get that first down.
Well, when he put his head down against Northwestern,
he almost got taken off.
He took a real shot.
Yeah.
He really didn't recover, at least for a little while in that game. And the defender for Illinois made a really good play. Now, Hamilton would kind of gummed it up by being there.
Right.
But
now let me ask a question. John Donovan's the offensive coordinator. Now, is he making those calls?
Yes.
He's making all the calls. So
he's not taking over, or Franklin's not taking over. Yeah, let me take a series.
So James Franklin is the CEO, and he's given the full responsibility to his assistants,
Correct.
Right.
both defensively and offensively.
Yes.
So John Donovan is the culprit making the calls.
The culprit.
He's gone
We think,
coordinator to a culprit.
we think we know where Mike's
Well, no,
stands.
he's the guy making the
He's
calls.
the
I mean,
culprit.
if they're bad calls, you're second guessing the calls.
Right.
Are we hitting the right guy? Is it James Franklin? Although
Well,
he has the ultimate responsibility for it, is what you're saying.
All right, well, Neil mentioned the Maryland game. It almost felt like Maryland 2.0. We'll figure out what's been going on here with these close games. After they started out the season winning these, now they've gone to losing these close games. Is there a difference from the start of the year to this point? We'll go inside that when we get back.
The NitWits are brought to you by Irwin Financial Raymond James, an independent firm and firm foundation for your financial future. Coldwell Banker, no one will work harder to sell your home. By Doctors Howells, Reed, and Solani, orthodontics for children and adults. By Fiore True Value on 6th Avenue, Altoona. Just ask rental. Buy what you want, rent what you need.
Now back to the NitWits. A roundtable discussion of Penn State football.
Welcome back. With Penn State losing at Illinois, they've now dropped 4 straight games that have been decided by a touchdown or less. That after starting the year, winning tight games against the likes of UCF and Rutgers. What's changed? Is it the play calling? Is it the execution? Is it all of the above? Is it something else?
Well, I think their defense has gotten worn down a little bit. I think you saw that at the end of both halves. That I don't know how long they say they've cut some practice time back, but I think that may be part of it. You didn't have Bell yesterday. The defense did play well enough to win, but Bell's a pretty good playmaker. You ended up having to start a true freshman who did okay, but I think it's just a big combination. But I think they've really lost confidence in Hackenberg.
Well, I would also say the special teams. You can't have those sorts of special teams disasters. I mean, those were basic things. I mean, the being unable to handle a snap, not fielding a kick. I don't care if that got caught in a jet stream. Somebody's got to be paying attention to that. And kids jumping off sides on a punt. I mean, those are things, and all of those things prove critical in that game. And that's why, you can go back to the end of the game and say Hackenberg didn't do this or the defense didn't do that. But those things all are coming back to bite you. And Franklin said that after the game. He said, you know what, we've been kind of playing with fire a lot all year. Those aren't his words, but kind of paraphrasing. And sooner or later, you make those types of mistakes, and it comes back to get you.
See, I think the defense has gotten better all year. I mean, they had a good game up until the last series, and then they were playing that zone defense, and they let some people, slip in underneath them and completed some passes. You got to give that Riley O'Toole a lot of credit. That kid came in there and really played well against Penn State. I mean, he made some great plays. A couple times he was getting sacked, and he flipped the ball and made some key first down plays. So, in a way, they got the right breaks at the right time. I mean, I think Illinois has improved. I mean, I was reading an article. Beckman was saying he thought his team was getting better.
What else is he going to say? They're getting worse?
No, this is before the game, though. But
you're right, and they're on scholarship too. They made a good play to stop Hackenberg. That Dudek was a really good receiver. Yep. Penn State's defense hadn't given up those kind of chunk plays, 58 yards in 3 plays, maybe all year as far as right in a row, boom, boom, boom. So.
Well, he all but admitted they were expecting the kid to run more than pass, and I think that maybe got them out of whack, as Joe used to say a little bit.
But the other thing I think about is Hackenberg lost a lot of confidence too. I mean, he was probably confident at the beginning of the season, but as this season has progressed, his game has gone downhill. Now I'm not sure how well he's working with some of the coaches or how they're coaching him up.
Who the culprit is.
But it sounds like, I mean, he seems like a type of kid that puts a lot of responsibility on his shoulders and is very frustrated. And I heard Jack Ham and some of those guys saying that they think he's just got to learn to relax a little bit.
But how many receivers have made great catches? I think Lewis made a real good play against Rutgers.
And against UCF.
Yeah, I don't know how much help he's got. It's certainly not from a leadership standpoint. And, you're Hackenberg, and maybe he hasn't handled it all that well. I don't know. I mean, he's probably played 25 plays in a Wildcat offense, including early in the year when they had Belton throwing from the pocket. So, I mean...
The Wildcat's working now, though.
The Wildcat is working to an extent. But, I mean, maybe there was a disconnect or is a disconnect with him.
Well, when you're getting sacked 39 times, that probably leads to a disconnect. I mean, I go back to that. I mean, the fact that the protection was so bad for so long for him, I just think he got off his game, and I don't know. Clearly, he's been unable to get back into his game, even with slightly better protection. And you wonder if the period he has between the end of the regular season and a bowl game will allow him to get his mojo back.
I know the one commentator on the television was talking about Hackenberg too anxious to get out of the pocket. So he's not staying in the pocket, maybe because he got beaten up so many times all year. He doesn't want to stay in the pocket. But nevertheless, when those offensive linemen are blocking the people to the outside, you don't want them to run around the end and they're going to tackle you.
Well, he appears
you got to stay into that
he's
pocket.
He's a better passer from the pocket. He showed that last year. He has struggled with these throws on the run. One thing that came up yesterday was, they were fourth and about a foot or so, and a first down there wins the game. And a lot of guys were talking, should they have gone for it there?
Your defense has been your hallmark all season.
No problem.
Put the game in the hands of your defense.
I had no problem with it. But at the same time, you're going nowhere. You're a 6-4 football team at that point. You're playing to win.
And if they don't get it, everybody says, "Why didn't you put it in the hands of your defense? Because they've been playing well all year."
I agree. You have to punt it there.
Okay.
And they got the ball on the 28-yard line.
Right. Yeah.
I'm not saying they should have gone for it. I'm just raising it because a lot of people were.
People are saying.
I do think the defensive coaches made a mistake when Illinois got the ball on the 28-yard line. They went into that zone defense. Well, rather than playing aggressively and putting a rush on the quarterback and having a man-to-man, a little bit of man-to-man, they let them run underneath the zone. So the defense made the wrong decision.
It's really the first
at the end
time
of
all
game.
year, though, I mean, that we could have taken that sort of exception with something that the defense did. Not that they haven't made mistakes, but in a clutch situation, kind of the first time that we really looked at it and said, wow, maybe they could have done some different things there.
Yeah, this loss drops Penn State, of course, to 6-5. They are still bowl eligible, but does it change where they end up? That, of course, is one of the many lingering questions and one we'll tackle when we return.
The NitWits are brought to you by MONARCH Cleaners for all your cleaning needs. By your rehab choice, Health South Altoona. Ask for us by name. By Courtesy Motors of Altoona, where courtesy means a great deal. By the Allegro, where fine cuisine is a way of life.
Hi, I'm Richard Bundy, director of the Penn State Blue Band. And you're watching the NitWits.
This will, of course, be his last game as the director of the Blue Band.
Congratulations on a great career.
Yep, great
Dr.
job.
Bundy.
Well, and this game, it's one of those, we don't want to give away who we think is going to win yet. That's the next prediction. But
I think we all know who thinks is going to win this game, Jake.
right, okay. Michigan State is the favorite. They've opened as almost a 2-touchdown favorite. If Penn State does not win this game, they finish 6-6. Does this change where we thought that they are going to the postseason, since they did lose that game at Illinois?
Well, I'm saying that they'll probably be somewhere they can drive.
Probably.
Well, that's what my guess would be.
Yeah, I don't
either
think,
way.
honestly, I don't think if they had won, I don't think it would have made a difference if they beat Illinois. I think I was thinking pinstripe before. I'm still thinking pinstripe. Had they beaten Illinois and then beaten Michigan State, I think maybe they had a chance to rise up into the tax layer, gator, whatever it's called now. But to me, and I just think it's kind of we talked about it some last week, but you think about this being the first year for the Pinstripe Bowl with the Big Ten. Penn State, so many fans in that area. The Big Ten throwing the pinstripe a bone. I think Penn State fans would like it. Obviously, they wouldn't love the weather, but a lot of people spent money to go to Ireland. I actually think it would be a pretty nice bowl for them to go to.
Yeah, and they'd get a familiar opponent potentially. It would be great if you could see a Penn State Pitt game.
That would be terrific. And listen, and I'm not just saying that to sugarcoat. We were at that Texas game in Dallas, whatever it's called, a couple years ago, and there was no atmosphere. It just wasn't the experience that Penn State fans were used to. And I think if you get them in Yankee Stadium, you will have that sort of bowl atmosphere.
That's the thing I'm wondering, since you go to what predictions would say would be 6-6, does that bring Texas? Does that bring Detroit back on the table? Do you see them possibly
No, I don't.
falling a
Because
little
I think if you look at what would be the best possible game for the pinstripe? I mean, who would the best possible Big Ten team be for the pinstripe at this point, reasonably speaking? I mean, obviously they'd love to get Ohio State if they could, but that's not going to happen. If the pinstripe would fall over backwards to get Penn State, so I think it would be a win-win for both sides.
Yeah, and it doesn't even make sense. Like if they're 7-5 or 6-6, I mean, you're not going to any major bowl, and it probably might likely be a Pitt, because if they win their last game, of course they got to play Miami yet, but 6-6 or maybe even a Notre Dame coming in. I mean, they lost a couple tough games, but that would be a marquee matchup: a Notre Dame and a Penn State.
I think Penn State, North Carolina, the Emirates Bowl.
Yeah.
Did that go over your head?
I'm sure he would be there for the ceremonial coin flip. Maybe he could Skype himself in.
Oh, boy.
All right, well, with those bowl predictions.
Let's send him a couple emails about it and see what we'll get back.
With those bowl predictions out of the way, it is now time to move on to our more immediate future predictions. When we return, we'll be taking a look at how Penn State will do against Michigan State. Maybe we've given it away. Plus, we've also got some scores to settle. As far as the Nitwit of the Week, Nitwit of the Year, we'll get into that when we return too.
The Nitwits are brought to you by the Altoona Professional Hearing Aid Center, your hearing aid healthcare professional. By EasyToUse.com, your Yellow Pages connection in print and online. By FightOnState.com, as close as you get to Penn State football without putting on a helmet. And by the Altoona Mirror, featuring Penn State game day every Friday.
All right, well, it is time to take out our crystal balls collectively as we take a look into the future. Penn State hosting Michigan State on Saturday for Senior Day. Penn State's been pretty good in their last game of the year these last couple years against some pretty long odds. Can they work the magic one more time?
I don't know. Michigan State's a really good team. Joe was very inspirational. They really, last Senior Day, no matter how the season was going, they always seemed to come up with an inspirational performance. Obviously, O'Brien ended very strong against Wisconsin. So this is a challenge. It's a challenge for this first-year staff to regroup. I'm going to say Michigan State 24, Penn State 16.
Mike?
Yeah. It is Senior Day, and that's a late start, 3:30, and I think Penn State plays a lot better than late start. So I'm going to go with Penn State. I think Penn State's going to beat Michigan State 24-21. And it's Senior Day, and hopefully we get a nice day down there. And I think the offense has got to step up a little bit, though.
All right, so we've got one upset in the books. I will make my pick now. I think that Penn State, I just don't know where the points come from against a Michigan State team. This offense has, like we've said all show, just not really been in a rhythm. So I think that they lose to the Spartans. I'll go 21-10 this week. Mark?
Yeah, and great group of seniors, obviously. I agree with Jake, though. I think it's going to be kind of an uphill climb. I also want to let the gentleman who talked to me at Sam's Club and was a little disappointed we didn't do picks a few weeks ago know that we'll do picks as often as we can. But again, a lot of credit to this senior class for sticking around, but I'm going to go Michigan State 22-10, and I'm squeezing you, Jake, on that. Keeping Neil alive.
Why the squeeze? Well, let's take a look at the standings here. And, of course, they're all gunning for your host, 4.5 footballs. Mark,
yep.
I guess if it's a blowout, you get your first football of the year.
Yeah, and that's why, if I might as well be a factor somehow.
Well, I wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving. Yes. All my fellow nitwits and
all the turkeys out there. From the nitwits.
All right, well, that'll do it for this week's episode of the Nitwits. We will see you again next time when we'll be talking about whether Mike was right with a little upset of Michigan State or what the rest of the deal was as far as how Penn State plays against the Spartans here on Senior Day. We'll see you next time.
The Nitwits are brought to you by Irwin Financial Raymond James, an independent firm and firm foundation for your financial future. Coldwell Banker, no one will work harder to sell your home. By Doctors Howells, Reed, and Solani, orthodontics for children and adults. By Fiore True Value on 6th Avenue, Altoona. Just ask rental. Buy what you want, rent what you need. By Monarch Cleaners, for all your cleaning needs. By your rehab choice, Health South Altoona. Ask for us by name. By Courtesy Motors of Altoona, where courtesy means a great deal. By the Allegro, where fine cuisine is a way of life. By the Altoona Professional Hearing Aid Center, your hearing aid healthcare professional. By EasyToUse.com, your Yellow Pages connection in print and online. By FightOnState.com, as close as you get to Penn State football without putting on a helmet. And by the Altoona Mirror, featuring Penn State Game Day every Friday. You can also see the Nitwits on AltoonaMirror.com. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next week.